Hello everybody and welcome to the fifth round of the Tail Racing Ring Runners here from the Nurburgring Nordschleife. As always, it's the 24-hour layout here for the second time this season. It's the Porsche Cup class, the first car that you'd regularly see racing at this circuit in the real world. We're now doing so in this series as well. It's myself, Ewan, and James Parfitt with you for this round of the championship as always, and it's a return to normal cars again, I would say, after last week's adventure into the street stocks, which I thought were pretty good. But it's nice to be now back in some cars that you'd, as I say, regularly see racing around this circuit in the real world.
Yeah, it does make a change from some of the cars we've had, obviously, this season as well. Street stocks, though, I've got to be honest, I thought there was going to be a lot more carnage and chaos, and there wasn't actually that much. I think there was like 4 replays to run through, but it's going to be the next couple of weeks. We're going to be very interested indeed. Radical SR8s, the Pro 2 lights. How's that going to go?
Yeah, I think the SR8s will be a little bit more normal, but yeah, the Pro 2 lights are going to be quite an experience coming up in a few weeks, so we'll see about that. Qualifying currently just drawing to a close right now, so let's have a look at the championship standings, and well, it's same story again for Jason Hightower, who is continuing to extend his lead at the top of the championship, now 131 points, 18 ahead of Dave Mull, who has been on the podium twice and been in the top 5 every round so far this season. However, he is still second ahead of Corey Stas. And then Dan Kosick, Evan Crowder's a little bit further behind after 2 difficult weeks in the GT1s and the LMP3s as well. Dave Hernandez just outside that top 5, with Scott Stadler in 7th place because he missed 1 round. Dean Diltz missed 2. He's in 8th place. He is ahead of Pat LaBrosse though. He's also missed 2, as has Aaron Smith, who finished 2nd last time out. And Ian Bertolucci as well has only been at the 1 round so far, save for Matt Green, Dan McFarlane and Matthew Mayer as well, down towards the back end of the field. In the AM standings, it's a lot closer, although Stephen Johnson, with a win last week, did extend that lead, or even gain the lead, I should say. 6 points ahead of Pat Mace. Steve Coubet wasn't there, so drops to 4th behind Tim Watchow, who is now 3rd. Although they both missed a round, so Watchow is legitimately ahead in that 3rd place. Solomon also missed a round. He's in 5th place. Dylan Hesslink, who has the same. Christopher Heron's been at 2 rounds so far, and he's the only one who has done so. So he's quite comfortably in 7th, ahead of John Amico and Houston Elliott, who haven't been here since the GT1s. However, it's worth saying, as this qualifying session draws to a close, we have got one of the biggest fields we've had all season, and one of the biggest fields we're going to have all season as well. 18 drivers in this grid coming up for you, starting with Jason Hightower again on the pole. Ray Teo alongside with Dean Diltz and Evan Crowder on row 2. It's Matt Green and Scott Sadler on the row 3, ahead of Stephen Johnson, who's on the pole in the AMS, looking very similar to the qualifying of the previous race. Dan Kosick in 8th place, and for some reason it jumps to 15th. I don't know why that's happened, but apparently, we'll try it again. See if it reloads. There you go. Pat Mace is 9th ahead of Dave Mull. Round out the top 10. Cody Whittaker, racing his first race this season, is in 11th ahead of Tim Watchow, who is alongside him on row 6. Anthony Solomon, Ian Bertolucci, Steve Coubet, Christopher Heron, John Amico and Dylan Hesslink all failed to set lap times, but they are, with the exception of Hesslink just for the moment, they are all getting onto the grid at least, which is a good thing. 18 cars for this race. It's a very, very stacked grid indeed, ready for round 5.
Yeah, it definitely is, and I think this is going to be very interesting to see here how these guys handle this. I'm interested to know if Hightower got 4 in a row. Is he going to get 5?
Have we seen 5 in a row since we started doing this series? I mean,
Pat LaBrosse.
Did he do 5?
Don't know. Now you're making me worry. Hold on. I will track back.
I don't think anybody did 5, or has done 5
No,
over
4.
in the past.
4. He was close to getting 5 in the supercars, but he finished 2nd in the end. But yeah, Pat LaBrosse has had 4 wins all as a season. If Hightower gets this one, he sets the record for most wins and 5 in a row.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking back at the last season results as well. It's yeah, well, you won 4 races in 6. Did LaBrosse, but yeah, never 4 in a row, and so yeah, it's It's very interesting to see whether Hightower can do it again. Rick Putnam managed 3 in a row the season before in the F4s, the LMP2s and the mini stocks. That's nice for a bit of variety, if you like. If you're looking for a bit of variety over the course of a winning streak as well, that's a pretty good run from him. Season before that, we didn't really get any big runs together, but for any of the drivers either. So, I reckon 4 in a row probably already is a record. Certainly in recent times, but 5 in a row would be absolutely unprecedented. And as he said, 5 in a row, people don't actually win 5 in one season very often.
No, definitely not. That's why it's such a massive thing here for Hightower to get that, because as you say, he doesn't generally you don't get people who win 5 races in general. So, I'm going to be interested to see how this one's going to pan out.
It's going to be interesting as Ray Teo lines up alongside. He's not been at any rounds this season so far as Ray Teo, so he's going to be starting his tally off tonight. Not going to be a championship contender, of course, because you only get 3 drop rounds normally. Actually only got 2 last season, but should be back to 3 this time. The only reason we went down to 2 is because we had a shortened season because of the Christmas break. We should be back to normal now in the second season of 2025. Let's see, though, as we make our way through the final few corners. At the moment, it's going to be Porsche Cup racing here from the Nordschleife once again. Fantastic car to race around here, as is the case in the real world. And Jason Hightower is going to get us underway here in a few moments' time as he brings us up to the start-finish line. Going to hold us for a little bit longer out of the final corner as the pace car pulls in. The green flag waits to be thrown, but now we'll go. And Jason Hightower in search for 5 in a row gets us underway again in the Tower Racing Ring Runners here for the first of 4 laps here at the combined 24-hour layout of this great circuit. In towards turn 1, 2 with Dilts down his inside immediately here. That could allow Hightower away pretty quickly here. As Teo gets the inside for turn 2 though, he's going to get position number 2 as well. Dilts then to 3rd ahead of Crowton, and then Stephen Johnson, who's made a great start up into 6th place already. Unfortunately, a bit of a kerfuffle at the background. It looks like a few people just going a bit slowly rather than actually spinning around, really getting through cleanly, because John Amico didn't take the start.
Yeah, he hasn't gone on to the start line there as well. Not quite sure what happened at the beginning, but watch Alcabay, Bertolucci and Hesselink may have all, just as you say, been rather slow and all checked up there. Pat Misch is still running. He is sitting 2nd in the AMS, of course, with Stephen Johnson leading the AMS further up the road. But Hightower's got away and is nearly a 2nd out in front already.
He's doing very, very well indeed, as Jason Hightower, that's 8 tenths of a second coming out of the Grand Prix circuit in search of history here tonight, as John Amico actually leaves the pit lane now. Wonder whether he disconnected off the start and then has only just got connected now, I don't know. But he's actually just leaving the pit lane now, quite a long way back from the rest of the field. He's got a lot of work to do from back there. Crowrod is giving chase to Dilts. That's the closest gap inside the top 5 at the moment, but they're just in front of Stephen Johnson, by the way, who's inside the top 5. What a great start from Stephen Johnson in this race. It's absolutely fantastic for him. 3 drivers between himself and his nearest AM rival.
Yeah, absolutely. For Stephen Johnson, he's doing a great job. He's got Green Sadler Cossack in behind, acting like his rear gunner almost. There he is, just gone around now, and as you say, Matt Green's tucked in behind him, Sadler's in behind that, and Dan Cossack is further back before they get to Misch. He's got Whitaker closing on the back end of him with Ian Bertolucci and Dave Mole behind that, and then the likes of Steve Goodbye, Chris Helen, Dylan Hessling, watch out, John Amico and Anthony Solomon there all at the same time. But Stephen Johnson at the moment doing a great job with Matt Green in behind him.
Dave Mull's off. Dave Mull has dropped down the field, I'm afraid. He's spun at the Hatzenbach. It's the very first section of the Hatzenbach. Actually, Teddy's gone in rearwards because the rear end is missing. If not actually any bodywork, then it's certainly crumpled in slightly. Well, as always, have a look at the end of the race as they go over the top of the hill through Flugplatz. Stephen Johnson doing a fantastic job in 5th, still ahead of Matt Green, actually, who's just in behind him here. Sadler then next in line as they go up over the top of the hill and then in towards the left-hander at Schredenkreuz. Down on the brakes for these guys as Johnson leads the way in this class. It's spreading out rather quickly here, and actually spreading out more than what you saw in the street stocks, which is kind of bizarre.
Yeah, the street stocks, we were expecting more incidents and accidents, but we didn't actually get it as much. We jump on board with Bertolucci, has got Whitaker in front of him. This is a Pro-Am battle, of course, on their run up into the left-hander of Adnan Forest. Are they going to be able to make it through? They are. Karen on the brakes, they go in through third. Is he going to go down to second? Yes, he is. And he's going to run it out and try and close. Well, he did definitely close up to Whitaker there.
That was very close, but he didn't quite hit him, which is the fortunate part. Bertolucci, of course, as we mentioned at the start of the day, only making his second appearance of the season. He did the LMP3s a couple of weeks ago, but other than that, he has been absent this season. If he's at every round from here on in, then he's got an outside chance at the championship, but other than that, it's going to be very difficult for him. Not that he'll be too worried about that, because most of these drivers are not, unless you're realistically here most weeks, you're not particularly worried about the championship, really. Bertolucci more worried about this race itself, and I think important for his race, he's going to be getting past Mason Whitaker quickly now. He's in behind some AM drivers who look like they're a bit slower than him, to be honest. He needs to find his way through as quickly as possible so they don't sort of interrupt his race anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing, I think, as well. It's trying to close in and around. The problem is that likes of Whitaker, Misch and all that are as quick. Crautfield's facing the wrong way.
Oh!
Stay.
Oh, go. You've got some space.
Nope.
Ages. Oh, not anymore. He should have gone there in that gap before Steve Kube, but now he's going to have to wait for the whole field. Now he can go. Go quickly. He's not... there we go. He let probably a few more cars through than he probably could have got away with there, but Crautfield gets back going again, and like Mull, they've come out side by side. The two pros with issues so far, absolutely coming out side by side. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how they get on. Whitaker now has got Bertolucci running alongside. Bertolucci's trying to clear him. He knows he needs to, but Whitaker's not making it easy for him, and he shouldn't. And Bertolucci sweeps around the outside. Great move there from Bertolucci.
Green has got past Johnson as well, though that was a pretty simple slipstream pass on the way towards the mud curve by the looks of things. He's actually off. Oh, Green got through and then went straight off. Well, Whitaker just about follows him. There you go. Well, partly because he's following Bertolucci, who also went slightly wide. So Green got through on Johnson, then immediately went wide, and now he's back down to fifth place. Bertolucci went a bit wide, although he didn't lose a place, because Whitaker's followed him straight off through the mud curve. I don't think any of them touched the wall particularly hard, though.
No, I don't think so. They've all managed to get away with it. Bertolucci, Misch is still in there. Of course, Misch had problems in the street stocks last time out as well. Unfortunately, him and Tiergarten wasn't the best of friends there. He didn't make a good job of the carousel, and he's now got Bertolucci tucked in right behind him, almost nose to tail. Stephen Johnson still holding on away from Matt Green at the moment. Scott Sadler there. And at the moment, these guys are continuing to battle away. Bertolucci cannot clear at the Pat Misch at the moment, because at the further up is Dan Kosick.
It is very congested through here. This is where the good racing, I think, is going to be here today. The podium places look like they're pretty settled, but the good racing looks like it's going to be in the midfield. And Ian Bertolucci's been providing it so far. He looks up the inside of Pat Misch this time. He tries to get past in the way that he got past Whitaker earlier on in this first lap of the day. Through now the final sector of this track. He's just putting a lot of pressure on Misch. He just clipped that curve there, which is not helpful, but he's putting the pressure onto Pat Misch now, and you'd imagine if he can't get through before, then he'll just get through on the long straight.
Yeah, he'll try when again, this is another class with open setup, so it'd be interesting to see what some of these guys have done. We'll have a look at some of the top speeds once we get onto the Dottingham. Well, they got air, so they're clearly going fast enough. It'll be interesting to see who goes where and who makes what, because at the moment, Matt Green has got Scott Sadler closing in now. Dan Kosick has got Misch, Bertolucci and Whitaker. And then further back, Dave Mole, Evan Crautfield and Anthony Solomon. Solomon's just gone down 2 places there, lost position to Crautfield and Mole, and now they're going to continue to fight on. But it's this main group in the middle of 4 cars that are together at the moment.
Yeah, that's where the interest is all at the moment, as they come through the line carousel. Now go towards Gavin Kopp for the first time. All of the position in front of these guys are separated by more than a second, so it is between them to provide the entertainment for the moment, and they certainly are doing so, as Bertolucci now makes it out the final corner immediately alongside Misch. Well, if he doesn't get the slipstream from Kosick, it could be a problem. And if Mish does get it, but at the moment, neither of them are taking it here. He's just driving down the middle of them at the moment, is Kosick. And Bertolucci's going to go straight through. I wonder whether Mish is just saying, you're better off going past me anyway here. I can maybe get into your slipstream as well. Somebody's flashing their lights somewhere, but they're still absolutely side by side. Neither of them have taken the initiative to take the slipstream here, which is just baffling, really. Mish will draft back past again, though, right at the end of the straight. It looks like Bertolucci doesn't quite have the straight line speed, though. He gets back again before the downhill section. Mish just lifted off there. Mish was desperate for Bertolucci to go through, but Bertolucci didn't actually want to try and get the slipstream from Kosick to try and help him.
Yeah, Bertolucci looks like he's got a little bit of damage there. I wonder if that was right at the beginning where they all sort of checked up on each other and Bertolucci took a little bit of a bump. But he has got a little bit of damage on that rear end of that car. But it didn't really quite go as we thought it was going to go down the dotting line. It was a little bit weird, to be blatantly honest. But we'll keep an eye on it as Whittaker is just about to go and send it on the inside of Pat Mish's, and that's what he did.
And he did. As he makes his way out of the first couple of corners, Whittaker leads Mish for second place. Now, this will be a great drive from Cody Whittaker because, as we mentioned, he's only doing his first race of the season. But if he can go and chase down Johnson from here and at least put the pressure on in the final lap of the race or so, that would be a big statement to the others and a big performance as well from Whittaker, even if it is just going to be second place. Maybe I'm expecting and hoping from too much for him, but that'll be a great statement for him to pass and drive away from Pat Mish here.
Yeah, if he can from there, he's got to try and get away and keep it into the draft of Bertolucci. Bertolucci is now fighting with Kosick. This is the closest battle. This is really bizarre. We stick him in a street stock, which we think is going to be an absolute, well, it was a nightmare to handle and a nightmare to drive, but they were all less than 5 seconds apart. I think at one point we had the top 10 or top 5, but they're a lot further apart in this car than they were in the street stocks.
Yeah, they are, and that is Bertolucci getting past Kosick. Mish goes for a spin. Whittaker's not going to have any pressure from behind now then, as Pat Mish goes for a spin. And so Herrin and Warchow will catch up, although they're battling themselves as well. Warchow will surely be favourite to get through here. He's currently third place in the championship, but ahead of Steve Kubate. Of those who have missed one round so far, those are the top two, but Warchow is behind Kubate as things stand as well. You'd imagine, based on what we've seen so far this season, Warchow, as I say, will be able to get past Herrin, but we'll see as they go on to the north side for the second time.
Yeah, well, what we presume and what we think is going to happen are completely different, and I think that's the thing here. This park can just cause so many dramas, the slightest touch, the slightest off, the slightest curb, and you're in the wall, and then it can all just go wrong. So I think for now, I'm going to just enjoy the fact that Dan Kosick has got Whittaker in behind him. Whittaker's putting him under pressure, and we'll see whether or not Kosick can hold on to it.
Out of the corner they go, and over the bridge. Going to be Whittaker putting the pressure on Kosick, something we weren't expecting to see too much of here today. Really like his livery, by the way, as well. He's from Flying Lizard Motorsports back in the over 10 years ago in IMSA. He used to drive a GT3 Porsche that looked very similar to this one. I bet this modern day Porsche Cup car is probably quicker than the old GT3 Porsche, to be honest, but that's besides the point. Down on the, brakes for Arenberg. That's a very tight gap. Oh, Cody Whittaker, what a move that is. Fantastic, so little space. And why would Kosick give him some space, I suppose, down the inside, because he's a pro and he's battling with an AM, but Cody Whittaker fires down the inside and he gets through. That's a great move. Yeah,
great job from Cody Whittaker. Absolutely sent it on Kosick there and got the job done. Now they're all sort of going to get a little bit more spread out here. And Dan Kosick in behind, he's got to try and stay with him. Hesselink is here in this mix. He's got Krautfeld, who is tucked in front of him, and the Krautfeld's chasing down Chris Herrin. Be interested to know what happened to Dave Moe. It looked like Dave may have made a mistake somewhere because he's dropped back away from this group of Krautfeld here, and we'll find out if Krautfeld does go forward and manage to overtake Chris Herrin after making his earlier mistake.
We will see, but that is Herrin having lost a place to Warchow, and by some seconds as well. I reckon there was a mistake in there somewhere for Herrin. He's now got Krautfeld right in behind him in this battle. I think a lot of this, what we're going to be watching for the remainder of this race, could be Krautroad regaining some places that he lost after that spin at Exmuller, providing there are no more mistakes ahead. Look at that down the inside. That's a pretty narrow gap as well. Not quite able to execute it in the way that Whitaker was in towards Arenberg. And so Krautroad has to find another way past Herring. But this could be quite tricky as he tries to get past. And, not easy to overtake in certain places around here. To Versyphon, he's going to be very soon at the place where he spun last lap as well.
Yeah, well, hopefully he'll be able to not do that and manage to stay there in behind Chris Herron. He's got to just stay tucked in at the moment, I think. He's got to try and get the run out of Burberk and up into the carousel. If he can make that move, then Evan Croughfield should be able to clear Chris Herron here. But Chris is doing a great job to stay in front of him.
He is. A lot of pressure on from one of the series' best drivers here. Was involved in that fantastic championship finale we saw at the end of last season, where there were 4 drivers involved, separated by just 3 points. It was a remarkable championship finale. And this time round, he's looking for 13th place, which would give him any point that he could possibly hope for at the moment. Krautroad has had either a very good race or a very bad one, unfortunately, this season. The GT1s and the LMP3s finished way down behind a lot of the AMs in both cases. And it looks like he's having a similar day to that here today, rather than finishing on the podium. Not really seen him having a mediocre day just yet. It's been pretty high or low for Krautroad so far through the fast left-hander, and he's still not able to get past Herron, even on that long flat-out section there.
Yeah, he just can't get up there, can he, at the moment? Chris Herron doing a great job here. Oh, tucked in. Oh, he's got to try and clear him, and it's getting dark as well.
Oh, he's off into the wall. That's what happens if you touch the curb in these cars, or in any car, to be honest, around this circuit. But Evan Krautroad finds the wall, and he has to tow back to pit lane. Krautroad will go down to 18th, and that might well be him done for the day.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to come out and recover from that, just hitting the curb and then unfortunately going round. That was the end of that one. Dave Mole still chasing down Dylan Hesselink, but poor old Evan Croughfield is out.
Well, currently 5th place in the championship. He's going to drop from there, you'd imagine. Although Dave Hernandez isn't here for the 2nd week in a row, so not able to take over his place. Might even hold 5th place, but that's not going to matter too much to him. The point is he's losing points to those who matter in the championship. And right now it looks like Jason Hightower is the runaway leader of this championship. 5 in a row on the cards here. He's still got more than 2 laps to go. He's just about to come onto the back straight, by the way, on lap 2 here. But he's got 4 seconds of a lead.
Yeah, he has at the moment, Hightower. I think this is, well, I think this could be 5 in a row, to be honest. An unprecedented thing that we've never seen before. Unless there's some form, oh God, of major drama for him, I think he's easily wrapped this one up.
It's a remarkable season from him so far. 18 points ahead of Dave Mole, who's currently in that 2nd place. So, further down, Mole passes Hesselink in the final sector. Don't often see that through there, actually. Hesselink must have made a mistake, because he's dropping quite a few seconds further away. And so Dave Mull moves up to 14th place. But that's the other point, isn't it? Mull is the closest championship contender to Hightower here, and he's down in 14th place right now. Corey Stas is in 3rd in the championship. He's not here, so he'll take a drop week. His worst result so far is only 7th, so that's not so bad. He's not been having too bad of a season so far. Dan Cossack's 4th. He's only recently been promoted to the pros. He's in 9th place in this race currently. Evan Krautroad, as we've seen, retired from this race. It's one thing to win all the races, and obviously you're still going to be championship leader if you win all the races, no matter what happens. That is obviously true. But it's the fact that there are no viable contenders to him this season as well that's making his lead so large right now and making this look so dominant from Jason Hightower.
Yeah, he is, well, at the moment, he is on a different level, isn't he? He's an alien in the group. He's literally just running away with it, doing a great job, and literally just finishing off a stunning season. And if this carries on in the next couple of rounds, this could be well and truly wrapped up in the pros, because who's going to get near him?
Stephen Johnson has made a mistake, and he's dropping down the field. Oh, he spun at turn 1. And why hasn't he been able to get back going again from there? Can't be waiting. Surely there's been plenty of gaps for him to himself back out. He's very scared of rejoining into the side of someone, and fair enough for that, but he didn't need to wait quite this long. Watch how goes past. There's Herring. Now he's got 5 seconds here. Oh, goodness me, nearly hits Herring as he tries to get back out again. Again, same for Crowd as well. I really applaud these guys being very respectful in rejoining and waiting, not to just rejoin straight into the side of someone, because, I mean, how many times do we see that over the course of series that we do? But both Crowd and Johnson probably waited a bit too long there.
Yeah, I think so, to be honest with you. But I think they were just trying to make sure they didn't hit anybody in the process. They're all fairly spread out at the moment. Hightower goes on to the Nords for the third time here. Be interesting to see what goes on with Hightower. To be honest, dude, I think this is more of a Sunday cruise now. Just manage the gap to TO, take it nice and easy, and make sure you get to the end.
The interest is going to be further back. And by the way, Cody Whitaker is leading the way in the AM class. What a start to the season it would be for him. It starts the season, I say, because this is his first round of the season. In the time we've been doing this series, we haven't seen Cody Whitaker do any racing at all. So I wonder whether this is his first race in any season of this championship as well. 7th place overall, and the AM leader as things stand as well.
Yeah, at the moment, he's sitting there ahead of Steve Goodbye, sitting there ahead of Pat Meesh, Tim Watchow, Heron. And he's come in with a bit of a bang as Cody Whitaker, you know, and maybe bringing it to the AMs. I think it could be interesting. Is he going to be able to get within the championship mix over the next few rounds? Well, it depends if he can actually make them.
Well, yes. I think that's probably out the question for this season, but he's certainly showing his speed early on. That is for sure. Dave Mull is now behind Stephen Johnson, and again, Mull is probably going to be, like what we were saying for Crowd earlier, Mull is probably going to be our primary entertainment for the remainder of this race as he tries to come through the field. Stephen Johnson as well, actually, after that mistake. Johnson will be looking to regain some of these places. He is the series leader ahead of Pat Meesh, but they've both had issues today. Johnson at the moment 3 positions behind Meesh. He's looking to get past Herring here to get a bit closer.
Yeah. At the moment, Johnson and Mole fighting out further down. There is Mole, there is Stephen Johnson, and there is Chris Herron. It's whether or not Johnson's going to be able to get over the top of him, obviously leading the AMs at the moment going into this one. And he kind of needs to gain as many places as he possibly can here to keep his championship hopes alive.
Well, there's 7 seconds between Herron and Watchow, so that's going to be quite hard. But at the very least, he needs to get to 12 here and then stay ahead of Mull if he can. Out on the brakes. Just a little bit wider there. Going to go for a late apex for Herron. Through Arenberg, rather, to try and overtake Herron, who's a little bit slow on the exit and was even on the strange line. Is he letting Johnson through here? It looks like it. No, maybe not. He's just staying to the right. Very religiously, almost. Oh, a bit late on the brakes. So that's going to be in the wall. Herron's found the wall pretty hard there. That's going to be wheel damage for sure, or at least front end damage. How has he got away with that? Wow. He smacked the wall there really hard. I can't believe he's got away with that.
Yeah, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. He's a little bit lopsided, isn't he? That's the thing for him at the moment, for Chris Herron. Little bit lopsided. So we'll see. Is he going to dive in?
Oh, it's not bad, is it?
No, it's not horrendous considering he punched the wall, isn't it, really?
Really hard contact. Yeah, you're going very high speed there, well over 100 miles an hour, and it's it's not only the speed, it's the sharp angle as well that wall is. It's nearly a head-on crash when you go straight on at the Adnar Forest corner. But it's like what we see week after week. Doesn't matter what car it is. That is one of the most difficult corners, underratedly so, I think. Really difficult corner there, Adnar Forest. You're braking as you're turning over the top of a hill. If you brake just slightly too late, if you go a bit wide and get into the grass, as what Herring did there, you're going to go straight on into that wall. And as I say, it's basically a head-on crash that normally does a lot more damage than that. Yeah,
it definitely does, but he's managed to come out of it. Not in a bad, not too bad, you know what I mean? It could be worse here for Chris Herron. But Stephen Johnson at the moment has got Dave Mole the second back as Hightower, well, to be honest, is dominating this.
He's a long way ahead of the rest of the field, over 5 seconds now, so we'll leave him to it. Last time round he was 3 seconds nearly, 2.9 seconds quicker than Teal. So he is running away with this race. Mull versus Johnson is going to continue here. So they've both got past Herring. And now that battle for 12 is going to carry on. Kosick is, well, he was a bit close to Whitaker, but now he isn't any longer. Our only battle on the circuit is indeed between Johnson and Mull. Both drivers who really need the points, to be honest, because they're both championship contenders in their own categories. So it could be quite an interesting fight for the next lap and a half between them.
Yeah, it will be. Could be one of probably the most interesting fight we're going to get here, I think, with the fact that everybody else is spread out as they are. I'm still shocked at how this car has made these guys spread out so much, but the tough street stocks, and they were all very close together.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is weird, isn't it?
Very weird. It's making me think that the Pro 2 Light's going to be the best race we see this season as far as close racing goes.
I think it's making me think that as well. It'd be interesting to see what that comes of. It seems to be the slower the car, the better the racing, really, in conjunction with.
Very unusual. But I guess one of the differences, although maybe this doesn't explain why, but one of the differences is that in the Porsche Cup cars, you are able to get more reliably a better qualifying and indeed at least get a lap in. So in the street stocks last week, we saw not many of the drivers actually setting a lap time for one reason or another. I guess having an off track or a spin or something on their lap, because you only get one lap in the series. That is maybe what contributed to people being out of position, and when people are out of position, it means overtaking throughout the race generally as well. But in these cars, it's easier to keep on the road. People are more used to keeping them on the road, and so more people got lap times in, and so more people have started this race from where they should be as far as speed goes. And so we've had a lot less of those overtakes in this race where there are faster drivers overtaking slower drivers because of a poor qualifying.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even the likes of Mole, who made an earlier mistake, he's obviously carrying damage. He hasn't really closed up to the back end of Stephen Johnson. He hasn't really managed to get away, to close up on him and clear him. It may be one of the cars that we'll see less overtakes with because of the fact that they're all similar pace, maybe. Obviously, the likes of Tio and Hightower is on the final lap here, who has just absolutely run away with it by about 6.5 seconds.
It's a nice lead for Jason Hightower. And he will just cruise home now. He actually set a personal best last time round. Not sure why it's not showing up as purple on my screen, but that is the fastest lap from Jason Hightower again. 1.4 seconds that time quicker than Teal. A whopping 6.2 quicker than Dean Diltz, who's third. I mean, these gaps are ginormous. And, as we've been saying time and again, the fact that these cars are producing bigger gaps in terms of lap time than what you see in the street stocks is just bizarre. I know that we got the Grand Prix circuit attached to it as well, but that can't be making all the difference. It is very, very unusual indeed. Not going to be the biggest winning margin we see this season, because 6 seconds is actually fairly close compared to some of the others we've had. But it's going to be another win for Hightower, 5 in a row, absolutely unprecedented. This could be quite a record-breaking season for Jason Hightower.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think come on down here with Steve Kabay and Pat Misch.
Kubay.
Yeah, Kubay has just lost a position to Pat there. He's had a crash. That'd be why. Or he's had a spin somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's more likely to be a spin or going wide for turn one. And same again for Johnson as well, who's just lost place to Mole.
Yeah, that's what's happened on the final laps here. Now it's Johnson, Mole, and Kubay and Misch, who's going to be running for the final lap as Hightower now into the Nords for the final time.
Let's see if Kubay can win that second place in the AM class back again, as Stephen Johnson puts the pressure onto Dave Mull as well. So 2 battles to keep an eye on here before the end of this race. They are by far the closest in the field. And Warchow's actually being caught by both Mull and Johnson, so that could be an exciting run to the flag for those as well. But ever since that mistake, Kubay looks maybe not as quick as Pat Misch here, who will be pleased to get past Steve Kubay. As things stand, I think he would get back past Stephen Johnson in what's turning into quite a good championship battle so far this season. Johnson gained 6 points last week and 12 the week before, although the first 2 weeks, Mace gained 5 points and 7 points, respectively, on Stephen Johnson as well. So that's already one lead change between the two of them. With Steve Kirby, who was also involved there as well in the championship lead after round 3, could be having a third championship lead change after just 5 rounds.
Yeah, and that's great for us. It means it's going to be kept alive here, unlike the obviously the Pro Championship at the moment, which is not looking like it's being kept alive due to the fact that obviously Hightower's running away with it. So we'll see how that one pans out. But it's great that the AMs are getting into the mix. You know, Cabay, Mish, Stephen Johnson all fighting it out, and I think this could be one of them that goes down to the end here.
Yeah, just to give you an idea, by the way, as to what a lead that is for Hightower, because I know it's easy for us to say 18 points, and, well, what does that mean? Well, effectively, it's 1 point per position in this series for the pro drivers, starting with 30 for a race win, and then for second place, obviously 29, and etc. It goes all the way down to 30th place, although we don't have 30 in the field very often. So 18 points already is 18 positions. Now, there is only 18 in this race. We do normally get quite a lot for Duck Week, which means that you can gain points quite substantially in the final week, and you can't take a drop week in that last week as well. So you've got to be hit, otherwise you lose a lot of points. The other advantage is that there's a possibility for 5 bonus points as well if you are a race winner. Well, if you're anybody actually, but the race winner is most likely to get it. I can't remember what they're all for, but anyway, one's for leading all the laps and so on, and all of that kind of thing. So that's a maximum of 35 points. If you were to gain 18 points, you'd need Hightower to finish with, just 16 points or so at the end of the day. Now, 16 points will be a 15th place finish with no bonus points, so realistically 16th place, because you get one for finishing the race. So that would be very, very difficult for Hightower to actually achieve. And what you'd be hoping for if you're trying to overtake him in that final week already. I mean, we're talking about this in week 5. Already, you're looking at him finishing, or needing rather, 16th place or better on the final week, which you'd imagine someone of his quality will be able to do easily, unless there's some sort of huge problem.
Yeah, unless all of a sudden he just doesn't turn up, or he crashes out and ends up at the back week after week. I can't really see this changing, to be honest. I think Hightower at the moment has just been so consistent and dominating that I can't ever see him losing this. I think unless there's a major drama somewhere, as you say, and he don't make the rounds, I can't see this changing.
Absolutely remarkable. Jason Hightower and Ray 2. Really quite astonishing that he's been able to get this lead. To be fair to Tew, he's actually gained 3 attempts so far this lap, which is a very good job from him, but it's not going to do anything for his race, I wouldn't expect. Watch out, looks like he's a bit too far out of touch now for Mull and Johnson. So those two, while they're a second apart themselves, they're also not quite catching Watch out as quickly as they could be. Gap keeps teetering around a second. They're just coming in towards the muck curve now, towards Kesselchen and so on, down that or up that rather large hill through the middle of the circuit, but it doesn't look like they're going to change positions either. So, as you say, Johnson's going to lose that championship lead, third championship lead change of the season. But as you say, very good news for us, because it's not going to be a championship fight in the pro standings, that is for sure. We've never seen anything like this since we've covered this series. Jason Hightower, the dominance he's shown, and through different types of car as well, from a Spec Racer Ford to a street stock for GT-based cars like this one, or the LMP3 prototype as well. He's dominated in everything.
Yeah, it doesn't seem one car that this man can't seem to get to grips with at the moment. However, Johnson has just lost that place to Dave Mole, and Mole gets through and moves himself up into 12th. But yeah, for Hightower, every car he seemed to have put his hand in, he's been absolutely amazing in. Now, can he do that next week when we're off to the SR8s? Can he do it the week after with the Pro 2s, the Dallara LMP2s, the GT3s? Who knows? But at the moment, he is literally running away with it. coming on to the dotting a ho for the final time.
Absolutely running away with it. Bertolucci's made a mistake as well, by the way, and Whitaker's going to get past him for 6th place. I wonder whether Bertolucci's damaged, actually. Is he just slow?
He went off track.
Okay, yeah. So that's 6th place now for Whitaker. Great drive from him. Not that it really matters for anyone's championship really back here, but just another positional change on the last lap as Jason Hightower now comes under the Bilstein Bridge very nearly. There he is, just up in the distance. Just over 6 seconds ahead of 2, has actually matched him quite well on this last lap. If you'd just done that through the first 3 laps as well, then we could have had a right race on here tonight. But as it is, Jason Hightower is going to win here in the dark at the Nordside. The first unusual car that you see around this circuit has been conquered also by Hightower, along with all of the strange ones in the first 4 weeks as well. Jason Hightower wins in the Porsche Cup class of the tail racing ring runners here in round 5. It is dominance again, 5 in a row for Jason Hightower.
Wow, that is an achievement and a half for Jason there. Well done. 5.5, 5 in a row. Absolutely stunning. Raymond Teo comes over the line in 2nd place. Dean Diltz is going to come over the line in 3rd. Then we've got this Bertolucci-Whitaker battle on the rundown and going a ho for the final time here.
Is Whitaker going to be able to hold on to 6th place? Either way, he's going to get the AM win as long as there's no crash here in the final S section. Late on the brakes for Bertolucci, but not late enough. Is he going to get the exit required? Because Whitaker went slightly wrong there through the final chicane, but he's too far behind. And Cody Whitaker in his first race this season is going to win in the AM class. What a fantastic performance from him to finish just ahead of Bertolucci in 7th. Johnson versus Mull is a run down towards the very end as well. Johnson has got past Mull here towards the end. So he's going to get a bit closer to Pat Mason. They're going to be really close in the championship after this round, that's for sure. Down on the brakes, in towards the Tiergarten. And Stephen Johnson gets up into 12th place. Not his best day, but he's rescued a decent finish from that situation.
Yeah, he definitely has. He's got points on the board, which is the most important thing. They come over the line now, down into 13th, 14th. Just going to wait for Chris Herron and a couple of others to come over the line before we can show you the results, of course. But a bit of an anticlimax, that one. I don't know.
Bizarre, really, considering it's the Porsche Cup class, but there you go. A little bit difficult to find battles around the circuit at times there as Christopher Herring comes over the line. How did he end up 30 seconds behind Johnson and Mull, by the way?
I think he went off track.
Yeah.
I will try and find it.
We might be watching him in a few moments' time.
But, yeah, Dylan Hessling comes over the line. Good job from him. And then next up will be Anthony Solomon. Should be able to bring you results as John Amico is right round the other side of the racetrack.
He's 2.5 minutes behind Solomon at this rate. He's had a disappointing race here this time round after a good showing last week. Difficult result and race for him in the Porsche Cup class this time around, as well as 16th place. He takes the victory. Takes 16th place rather in that race. Does indeed beat John Amico to the line, who was one of the only drivers to pit in. One of the positives actually from this race is that relatively few drivers actually having incidents here. I'm going to see a lot of, I think, spins and people going slowly through the first chicane, especially on the opening lap, but not many incidents, I don't think, to go through in the replayed run through in a few moments' time. Before we get to that, of course, we'll get through the race results. For the 5th time this season, show Jason Hightower on the top by over 6 seconds. It's Ray 2 next, ahead of Dean Diltz, who was a bit further behind, but on the podium at least. Matt Green and Scott Stadler were inside the top 5, and Cody Whitaker, who wins in the AMs. Ian Bertolucci and Dan Kosnick were next, to Pat Mason, Steve Kube, the last on the podium in the AM class. Tim Warchow 11th, then of Stephen Johnson, who loses points in his championship lead in the AM class. Whether he loses the lead itself, I'm not sure. Dave Mull was passed by him on the last lap. Christopher Herring and Dylan Hessling rounded out top 15, head of Dancy Solomon and John Amico, who were last to finish. Evan Crowder didn't even make it halfway. He's going to score basically no points from this race, unfortunately, for him.
Yeah, unfortunately there as well. But, that's racing, isn't it, really? Poor old Evan Crowfield there as well. Right, should we have a look back at some of the incidents? The beginning was, I think, most of them checked up there. But this is Tim Watchout is his moment right at the beginning, back on lap 1.
Yeah, I think they were. So that's Solomon who spins in front. Oh, and just clips Watch Out around the hairpin. So that's how they both ended up quite a long way back straight away. Now, we saw Mull backwards in the wall, first of all. He's second place in the championship, don't forget. This is a big moment for Dave Mull, who broke a bit too late. Oh, he smacked the front as well as the rear end. That was pretty hard contact with the wall, and the fact he got away with so little damage is a bit of a miracle.
Yeah, he did absolutely puncture that quite hard here. This is Devon Krautfield's spin that we saw onto the curb, already rotating, and unfortunately for him, around goes. Now,
oh no, that's the worst part, because he actually did a relatively nice 360, but he tried to get on the power again too quickly and spun around again. So it could have been a lot less, and that's what annoyed him initially, I suppose, in this race. And so then he ended up retiring a bit later on, so we might be able to see. This is Johnson going off. That's very odd through turn 1.
Yeah, that was basically a brake late situation and hope the car stops. Unfortunately, it didn't. Chris Herrott has his own moments.
Oh,
bit of
that's
curb.
a hard line. Got clipped by Watch Out. In the background, that Hesslink, is it?
Going on, yeah. Hesslink going off as well. This is what put Krautfield back in pit lane.
Yeah, I saw this live, of course, but he was already sliding up, then on the curb, tried to keep his foot in it, spun around, pretty hard contact with the wall, and that was that for him. I think he was a bit annoyed with himself after all of that, and he left the session after that.
Steve, goodbye. I think again he just goes deep into one.
But yeah, just
Stephen John facing the
avoids. Yeah. How did he end up there? Because he went deep. The first time they were at full speed, he went deep, and then he spun second time round. So he really wasn't enjoying this first chicane. Is this the first one, or is
this is the one where he's?
This is second. Wow. But he's made a similar mistake twice. This must be very annoying for him.
Definitely. This is Anthony Solomon's crash. So, Christ, I think spun coming on power, to be honest. No, he's just
stopped. Maybe some sort of pop-up on his screen or something.
Ian Bertolucci's moment.
Whoa. Too deep on the brakes. You can see that coming from a mile away. Watch for this curb here. And then he will have to slow down quite a lot on the exit for a slowdown. But at least he didn't hit the wall. But that's about it for the replay. That's 2 weeks in a row now where we've had quite few incidents to look through. A very clean race in the Porsche Cup class, but not too many battles out there on the circuit this time round. And the same result overall with Jason Hightower winning again.
Yeah, 5 in a row. That's an absolutely stunning job from Hightower. Be interested to see what he can do next week in the SR8s.
Absolutely. We'll be back next week with that round 6 of this championship, the Radical SR8s on the combined long layout. So we'll be using the full Mercedes arena next week. That's about it from us here tonight. Myself, Ian Leary, James Parfitt will say goodbye here from the North Side for round 5 and see you next week in the Radical SR8s.